Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super discussion video. And with me today, I once again brought Mr. NinjaStar. Man, why don't you say hello to everyone listening?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Mr. NinjaStar, or Ninja, however you want to say it. Happy to be on Mark Real to Real's channel once again. It's always fun being on this dude's channel. I know I say this all the time, but it really is fun being on this man's channel. We always have interesting discussions. You guys always have great discussions too, and yeah, what are we going to be talking about in this video?
Yeah, guys, and please make sure, you probably saw the title, you saw the thumbnail. Please make sure to pause the video, listen to the video, go down to the comment section below and share your thoughts and opinions on this, because I know... Okay, I put out a theory video with MJ and then another one on my channel, basically the same thing but more condensed and, you know, straight to the point type of thing. And I wanted more from this Yardratian. I did. And as soon as I put that video out and as soon as the last episode dropped, I just got a ton of comments on that video, a ton of tweets about it, just being like, haha, you're wrong. And it's like, well... was I? And that's what we're going to be discussing today. So, Ninja, like, what do you think, man? Like, I have to say, I don't think he is out. One of the things we see is that the guy knows instantaneous movement, instant transmission, whatever you want to call it. And another thing is, and this is really, really deliberate in episode 100, I cannot stress this enough, everyone who gets taken off of this particular stage in this particular episode, and I could be missing someone here, but I think it's the sumo wrestler and the boxer from the beginning beating up Kale, and then it's the two other guys, the one from Universe 3 and the other guy that Kaba takes out, and the Pride Trooper that Kale takes out. So the sumo guy, the first four guys basically, you see either go off, you literally see them go off and disappear. They go off the side, down into the void, and just disappear. And the two that Kaba takes off, you see the Zenos basically go beep, beep, and completely mark them off. And then with the Kale, you see her break the lasso of truth and then go to punch, and then it kind of cuts in with Zeno basically going, whoa, push, he's gone, done. You don't see that, and I think it's very deliberately shown that you do not see that with the Yardratian. Basically what happens is he's kind of sitting there spamming the instantaneous movement. He doesn't think Goku knows what's going on. Goku's sitting there kind of annoyed, like, I'm gonna take this fucker out. Like, he doesn't know what's coming to him. Like, he doesn't know that I know this. And then Caulifla gets a cheap shot on this guy. He bounces like a freaking rock on the pond and then just disappears. But he disappears. It looks like, when they see it, it looks like he disappears before actually falling off the side. And I'm going to say, I think it was last week, we got to see Krillin jump off the void side, grab 18, and then use a ki blast after he got past that freaking, you know, I guess the initial barrier of the void, and push himself back up to save both of them. So obviously you need to fall somewhat into the depths of the void in order to actually disappear. And there is a considerable similarity between the lines of vibration or something that they use, however they animate it, between people going off the void and disappearing back into the stage and the instantaneous movement. So I think that this was very deliberate. I'm not necessarily sure how this guy's going to be important, and I don't necessarily want to keep harping on the idea that this guy could potentially be important in the future, but I think a lot of people are jumping to conclusions that this guy actually got taken off at that particular moment. I feel like having a Yardratian who we know should be in Universe 7, that Goku literally, as the beginning of this tournament, points out and says, well, that's weird, that guy's not supposed to be there, and they let you think about that. To have Caulifla take him off so easily is so ridiculous to me, and if that is what happened, I'm going to be disappointed. So I know I've been ranting on this, man. What are your thoughts?
I feel the exact same way, to be honest. Like, they can't just build up, like, do these little hints that aren't, like, to be honest, like, they aren't too specified or anything like that. Like, sure, Goku did bring up that idea that, hey, this guy isn't from this universe, he probably shouldn't be, he should be from our universe, right? And I get that, you know, that's telling the audience, like, hey, you might want to think about that. It's not that big of a detail, though. And then same with, you know, him falling out of the ring, like, or sort of falling out of the ring, because someone can interpret it like, oh, he just fell out without paying too much attention. But like what you were saying, if you really pay attention, he falls a little differently, and it could just be, the animators, maybe they got a different animator for this moment or something like that. It could really depend. Maybe it's just a coincidence, who knows? But I feel the same way. I feel like they're playing little hints to it. And what I've noticed in this Tournament of Power, they've really been playing hints as to what's going to happen in the future. Like, one thing I really like, it's been doing a lot more foreshadowing, and I feel like this is no different. The Yardrat could potentially have a role, and he's definitely from Goku's universe. Goku doesn't expect it, and then, instant transmission. Because think about it like this, yeah, like, flying isn't really, you can't really fly in this tournament, but the thing is, instant transmission isn't really flight, it's instantaneous movement. So, yeah, it's not flying. Yardrat can fully do it if he wants to. He's mastered the skill. The Yardrat's the one that taught Goku, essentially. So, of course, they'd have just as good of a mastery as he does. So, basically, they'd the Yardrat instant transmissions. No one really catches it. Like we were saying, he was flipping all over the place. But like I was saying, this guy has at least a decent mastery of it, so he should be fine for the most part. I think everyone just kind of put him aside, including, the most, like, Goku and everyone else, like, not really thinking too much about it. I think even if Gohan were there watching, he would have probably thought, like, oh yeah, this is probably no different, he's out, whatever. And I think there's a reason why we didn't see him completely disappear, or why Zeno didn't push the button for this person, because he's not completely out. He was caught, he's still in the tournament, but of course no one's gonna say it. Like, Zeno's not gonna say anything. He wants to see this play out and everything like that. And it's gonna be very fascinating to see how it turns out. Maybe he could potentially have a role. Maybe he could have a duel with Goku or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he's going to be that one guy, maybe in like the top 7 or something like that, who actually does end up making it somehow by just being sneaky like that. No one expects it. Who knows? It could go any direction. What are your thoughts?
No, I completely agree with you there. And one of the things I want to just say, like you said, this guy does seem to have a complete mastery of the instantaneous movement, but I just want to reiterate one of the things that we saw in the Cell games that at that point in time we didn't think was possible. And we saw this guy, he's sitting there doing this, he's spamming the technique with Goku, he has, the fingers on his head, he's obviously concentrating, but we've seen Goku before be able to use that technique without putting the fingers to his head and concentrate like that. So we know, at least theoretically or conceptually, it is possible for someone to actually do this. And if Goku can do it, someone who had to learn, someone who isn't the race that came up with the dang thing, then obviously it's at least possible, conceivable, that he could do the same thing. So even if you might want to argue, well, he didn't have his fingers to his head when he was falling, so he must have fell. Well, we've seen otherwise. So as long as he got his wits about him in that amount of time, he could have actually teleported away. And it would be interesting, considering the fact that, he's not supposed to be there. And I know there's a lot of conceptions about, there's a lot of thought about that, and I know a lot of people want to know why exactly, and I feel like to have him be taken out this quickly, this easily, without any explanation at all, is kind of annoying, and something that I don't think that they would do. But here's a question though, like the main question here, say he did get kicked off, say Khalifa kicked him off, he's out, yada yada yada, who cares about that guy? He was always a weakling and he'll never be important. He's not a universal godbuster type of character or anything. Do you think, when we get to this point in the manga, that he will be in the manga?
I think he will be, at least, like, from the way things are looking. With Toyotaru, we've been seeing with the Trunks arc, he tries to make things a little different, and sometimes it ends up doing pretty good. Sometimes it ends up being absolutely atrocious, and we never want to see it again. And that's just kind of the way Toyotaru writes. And I feel like the Yardrat, in the case that, let's say, in the anime, like, he did end up getting out, and it was just Toei maybe doing a little just kind of joke thing. They were just playing to the fans. Like, it's like, oh yeah, you remember the Yardrats? Yeah, he's here now, but he's getting out. So at least he saw a little bit of him. I could see Toei doing that, because they sure do love playing with the fan service. But In the manga, I could definitely see Toyotaro actually putting a little more emphasis on this Yardrat, maybe showing the instant transmission and then, the Yardrat going all in, maybe being sneaky, getting people out without them even noticing, stuff like that. I could definitely see the way Toyotaro, because he writes very differently from the way Toei does things. Like, sure, they still have the basic premise, but a lot of, like, details are changed. And it could just be from the Future Trunks arc because he was rushing it, but I still do feel as if, he's going to write this a little differently. We're going to get more emphasis on the Yardrat because they sure do like playing, especially Toyotaro as well, like playing back at the older stuff, like older elements in Z or Ball or anything like that we were never really thinking too much about, and then they bring him back, they put a little more emphasis on it, stuff like that. So I could definitely see Toyotaro in the case that in the anime he immediately gets out. I could see in the manga Toyotaro puts to the audience, he shows Yardrat a little more action, stuff like that, a little more like an explanation of how he wasn't able to fully go out and stuff. So yeah, it was just my rambling as well. What are your thoughts?
No, I understand that completely. I think that we have a situation where he could be in the manga. I'm going to disagree. If he has no point in the anime other than what we literally just saw in this last episode, then I'm just going to go ahead and think, yeah, he might not even be in the manga. I mean, it's possible Toyotaro's just that much of a fan, and they also write differently, and it's also really apparent that Toyotaro really doesn't care when it comes to continuity of the series. For as big of a fan that he is, it's just Japanese culture in general, they don't care as much as we do. And I think that that's really going to play apparently if they do not actually put the Yardrat in the Tournament of Power in the manga, and it will show that yeah, he isn't that important, and it was just kind of a wink and nod for Toei to basically go, yeah, that's a Yardrat, okay, yeah, we're moving on because we don't care. And honestly, I think that would be kind of cool to see like a difference between fighters or something else like that, because I've always wondered how the manga is going to deal with this particular fight and showing every particular fight or thing that the anime does, because even though they do take their time, there's still a lot of it, and there's a lot of ground to cover in so few pages, considering we're going to have multiple episodes. I mean, this tournament is nowhere near done, so I'm just wondering how it's actually all going to come together and play that way. And honestly, I'm fine with it really being super different to the point where there's different people and different teams, that the Yardrat's not on Universe 2. I'm fine with that because I never really felt like it mattered very much anyway, but I'm sure there are people out there that think that, no, you can't, he has to be on Universe 2 because it needs to be consistent at least to a point, but it's never bothered me.
Yeah, I feel kind of the same way. Like, it really does depend on how you feel about it. If you were really passionate about it, then you might be a little upset. If you were, or maybe in the case that he does get disqualified, or maybe in the case that he in the anime, if he does, maybe Toei, we don't know, we aren't we're just making speculation videos here, but basically, like, in the case that he does get a little more emphasis, then the fans who are a little more passionate, love to reflect back at earlier Z and stuff like that, will be a little more excited, and then fans who don't really care that much consistency, like what you were saying earlier, they probably don't really care that much. They're probably like, oh yeah, cool, I remember that, whatever, can we move on, can we go to the Jir and stuff? It's like, it really does depend on how everyone perceives it, so yeah.
No, I completely agree. But anyway, guys, what I want everyone to do, like I said at the beginning of the video, you saw the title, you saw the thumbnail, now you've listened to our discussion, please make sure to go down to the comment section below and type out your answer about what you want to see from the Yardrat. Do you think he's done? Do you think he might still have a role? Do you think he, got away, used the instantaneous movement to literally get away from falling out or anything else like that? Did we prove a point here, or do you think that we're completely stupid? And of course he's out because they showed it, and we should just, stop analyzing this to death. Whatever you want to talk about, guys, I'm all for it. Anyway, guys, with that being said, please make sure to go down to the description section below and hit that link to go check out Ninja's channel. The guy makes some really awesome, very insightful content from Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball and just in general other anime stuff, so please make sure to go do that. But with that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that bell over by the subscriber button, because that's going to notify you every single time I upload. But with that being said, guys, I hope everyone has a good day. It's been real.